Hello, we are back with another episode of UVCE Chronicles by UVCE Graduates Association. This is Anupama from 3rd year CSE with Manjunath Hebbar from the batch of 1985 EC. He is the founder of Buoyanci Innovations. No one knows better than yourself about you. So let's hear further introduction from himself.
Okay, thanks Anupama and hi everyone. Yeah, it's Manjunath Hebbar and I'm known as Hebbar. You can refer to me as Hebbar as you go further. Yeah, thanks Anupama introducing and letting me speak to my own people who are out there and guys who are going to really join the same group who follow mine. It's great to be part of the group, great to be part of this college where we all studied. So a quick intro, if you would like to. We've been from a very interesting batch of engineers that came out of UVC. A lot of you may not know, especially our batch guys won't ever forget. We joined engineering in 1985, and incidentally, with what happened in 84 and 85 in the country, there was quite a bit of unrest, and there was absolutely no exams we had in 85. So our first exam after joining engineering was I think about 18 to 20 months away. So 86, 87, 88, 89, I think 90, beginning of 90 is when we passed out. And we had the distinction of calling ourselves as a senior batch because there was another batch which actually started in 86. I think they had only a runway of 3.5 years to really complete their engineering. So they also came out in 1990, and I think they came out maybe in June, July or so. So within about 5 to 6 months, I think there were two batches of engineers coming out of our batches at that time. So we belong to that kind of a special category of batch as such, right? And yeah, so it was very interesting that time. And we need to really fight to have our exams done so that we can continue further. And also, incidentally, I think we were the first batch of 4 year students versus the 5 year engineering courses that were running. So I think there was a lot of fuss to us in terms of how our engineering went, and it was very, very interesting. So we had our time, and we actually had a lot of time to experiment, a lot of time to explore, and a lot of time to even worry about as well. So during that part of worrying, I think some of us actually got together and they said, okay, what can we make the best use of the time we have out here? And then myself and another couple of friends of mine, we actually started our first company when we were in the second year of engineering in 1987. So that is our journey of starting to work even before we actually started to complete our course we started in. So very interesting. So I finished engineering in 89, 90, as I said, electronics. Then by the time I had my piece of a design lab, a design boutique kind of a thing that I started, and it was a fantastic journey of next 10, 12 years, wherein more or less for every month we actually rolled out one new product, new design, which we actually took it to realization, and the realization either was make it a product which is licensable or make it an IP which is actually sellable to others to really make use of it, or keep it as our own credentials by generating an intellectual property which you can be proud of. So it was a fantastic run of about 10, 12 years or so. During the course, I finished my MBA. I actually enrolled myself for a PhD in engineering in Netherlands. And that was very interesting. So I finished my MBA and also I finished my engineering fellowship that was required at that time. A good run of about 12, 13 years gave us a good confidence, and it was an amazing journey. I think we would have licensed around 100 odd products around the world for a lot of people to make use of that in their own journeys of businesses they were in. Later, another 10, 12 years, I've been part of large corporates. To name a few, I was the early member of Philips out here, Philips Software Center as it was called. And then actually went to Gear Systems, where I actually started Gear Systems wireless communication networking division out in India here. Then I had 2, 3 years of work with iGate when iGate primarily to really transform iGate to whatever it is today. And I think now it has become part of Capgemini. Then I was with HCL Technologies as a senior VP for engineering and R&D for 6, 7 years. I built large businesses out there in terms of products and product engineering and as you call engineering and R&D services. Later to that, I was with Science for about 2 years, where again I was there as part of head of strategy and senior member of the board and executing on the new transformation of the company itself. Around 2015, yeah, I just came out of corporates, started another company of my own, which is Buoyanci, Buoyanci Innovations as we call. Yeah, for the last 6, 7 years, yeah, we focused back again on innovation and growth acceleration kind of consulting. In the course of this journey, I think it is very uh, interesting to really pick up a lot of skills, a lot of friends, a lot of travel, worked all around the world, and good lot of connections with people around. Fantastic journey till now. So I can say I have more or less 50-50 experience in being on my own and being part of large corporates. In either case, focus has been always in innovation and strategy and growth. So these are the three areas I focused on early on and continues to be the same line of work I could do even today. Hope this is a small enough introduction for you guys.
Oh, that was a very nice introduction from yourself, sir. So, how about we go on a journey of how you graduate, after you graduated engineering, what you did, how you completed your PhD, and you wrote 573 patents, you as you told. So, how was the journey, sir?
No, that journey was as exciting and as interesting it can be. Right? I think, as I told you, as we graduated out, we already had hands full. So we knew almost kind of work we can do and kind of products that we can build. Good amount of confidence that was flowing in because we had a few guys who were very keenly looking at the kind of innovation and innovative products that we can bring to market. So yeah, so work was always exciting, and actually we set out to really build a fantastic design lab. And yeah, so the guys who joined me around, I think at a peak level we had at least about 75 innovators, as we call them, working with us. So each one good in their own respect, and then yeah, we had board full of ideas to be really conquered and convert them into products that can solve the problem that we're going after. Kind of a thing. Fantastic journey that way, right? And yeah, so when you get on with some amount of work, and the work itself actually takes you a little further. So that is when we're realizing, okay, so we're actually innovating. We are able to really license and productize the innovation that we're actually coming up with. Same time, I think you have this urge of knowing more and knowing more of what you do, knowing more of what can be done, knowing more and more people and associated issues that can be used as a reference for building another set of products and innovations, right? That's when you actually start connecting and working and all of that. So during that itself, we actually had operations in different parts of the world. In Singapore, we had a lab, and US, we had a lab, and we had work going on with some of Japanese customers and all this, right? So these all actually were making us move around. And I had this habit of not just visiting a place just for the sake of visiting and reviewing what we are doing. My interest was to really be there and work with the team and also work with solutions that we're building and all of that. So in that course is when actually I said, okay, it's time maybe I need to pick up a lot more other skills as well. So one, you need to go a little broader, and at the same time go a little deeper. So that is when you start background studies and then look at what more can be done. So I took a management route and also took a deeper engineering route to go further with it, right? So this is the drive for that. And during the course, as I said, ideas are plenty, and not all ideas require to be converted into a product. So it's always better that the idea is packaged in a way it becomes usable for others as well. So we had to really look at, okay, how do we validate this? In our language, validation of an idea is in the use of it. Because otherwise, okay, it's just not another idea. Maybe you discovered it, but there are a lot of others who do it also. So our interest was to see, okay, is it meaningful? So one way of validating it is meaningful is to really see if we can really make it usable. So either through a patent or through a licensing mechanism or through some other mechanism where we share the IP with somebody else, right? So that is the thing. But our interest was coined into a method that we followed. So our method is okay, anything that you build, you need to convert that to some piece of work. So that piece of work may start with an article, and if it is just an article and a design idea or a product idea, can that be patented? Move further and then really look at what can be done out there. Or convert that to a product or a prototype and take it to show it to people who think are the right set of guys who can make use of it and also benefit from it. Right? So in that process, you actually realize, okay, so more and more you see deeply and broadly, you can generate a lot of value, and the value can be one in terms of products itself or in terms of the IPs and things like that that you can do. That's what actually led us to really build what we ended up actually building as a portfolio. So that's a simple story.
Yeah, you had a lot of experience in working in different companies like HCL, Philips, iGate, Global Solutions. So, how was your work experience in all those companies, sir?
That's a very interesting question and at the same time very interesting experience. Because as you can imagine, right through my school days and college days, I've been an experimenter myself. And trying out on things actually requires a lot of freedom. So without freedom, in both in terms of what you look forward to, what kind of work you do, where you collaborate, where you go, how you spend time, and how much money you spend and how much money you burn, because not everything you try out and experiment not necessarily will lead results which are meaningful for others. So when you're on your own, this is very easy because you're an entrepreneur, you know what you're doing, and time and money is your game, right? So there isn't anybody to answer to. But if you get to a corporate kind of a situation, the story is totally different. So there, yeah, there is an organization, there is a structure, there is a principle of operation, there is a budget, there is somebody you report to, and also there is a very different mindset of what kind of products and technology the company is interested in. So you need to do a lot of alignment as well. So though you may be feeling that okay, I'm a very free bird, I can do whatever. When it comes to a corporate setup, you need to contextualize it and also make sure that you adjust it to a level which is important for the company as well. Because in the context of our own company, it's easy. We can define, redefine, and then adjust and adapt and move on. But when you are part of a corporate, you actually have to really work with a common goal. And that common goal is either defined or you realize that you can define the goal also along with somebody else and it becomes a common goal and then work with it. So I really had a kind of a suspicion. How does that work out? And everybody around me also, right? Okay, what you're leaving your entrepreneur journey and then joining a corporate? How would that be? And why are you doing it? I was telling them, oh look, my idea is to see what are the corporates doing in the world because the big companies have their own issues and opportunities and everything else. And if I don't worry about organizing money and priorities for my company, and then it is abundant set of resources that are available in corporate, can we do better? Because if you're on your own in a small startup or a big small company, whatever, you have your resources as a constraint, and you have resources constraint, then you actually also have priority as a constraint. My view at that time was okay, the corporates may actually offer a lot more. And if there are people with ideas and their ideas are supported, you can do a lot more better than what you can think is possible with a smaller setup that you are having on your own. I wanted to try that out. So my interest was to experiment. That's why I went there. When you go there, you realize a lot more different things, right? So right from conversations around salary. No, I never had thought about a salary till I actually joined a company, right? Because I was actually making money as part of the company, and there was no need for any kind of a salary to be taken. So right from the definition of a salary, what does it mean? A definition of a job and the time for a job, and you have hierarchy, organization interfaces, and all of that. A fantastic learning experience in the beginning of it and that transition. But the moment I realized what is possible there and what is not possible, as normally I do, right? You set the objectives for yourself and drive that through. And to surprise of a lot of people, corporates do offer a lot of freedom. And if you actually are good and you also know as to what you're going after and you have experience behind you to show that, okay, you can really work with things that are not well defined, but at the same time you can bring value, corporates also find hard to find people like that. I think I was lucky. I was lucky in that sense of having experiment and also experience as my mantra to move forward. That was a fantastic journey, both in the setups in India, setups elsewhere. I've been part of large corporates, and it was fun actually. So, though I joined these corporates after my entrepreneur journey in the beginning, I remained an entrepreneur within those companies because most of my work, more or less about 100% of work I did, was all to really actually look at new opportunities within the company, look at new products, new businesses, new services, new markets you can go after, new clients you can bring to table, new strategy for really the company itself to transform and redefine. So I worked on mostly a transformational kind of work, which also actually had varieties of innovation possibilities and entrepreneur possibilities. So though I was part of the corporate, I was mostly an entrepreneur myself within the company. I had absolutely no boundary, nothing of that kind. But abundant set of resources and customers and things that can be done out of. And when you have beautiful teams you build, the energy is much higher than you can imagine. So that is why when I started with so that they were small, and yeah, I think we ended up actually adding thousands of people as we move further. When we started again in India, actually there was nobody else beyond me and a couple of other guys, and we moved it to $100 million worth of run rate business around the world. So we were making products across different teams around the world, and I was responsible for the business also across the world as well. They are all what you dream of being a hands-on product guy to a hands-on business guy to really leading the team or leading the business. It was a kind of that kind of an opportunity that actually was very exciting to really explore. Same thing happened with iGate and HCL and Science as well. All of them are very strategic roles, and I think we ended up actually adding a lot more to the top line and bottom line of the company. And more or less in every company, we ended up adding several hundreds of customers and employees into the team. So it was growth, and innovation-led growth was the kind of a journey that was going on out there. So that's the journey I enjoy. Right? So though you start as on your own as an entrepreneur, and you can really remain as an entrepreneur wherever you go, irrespective of whether it is your own company or a large company that you're working with, as long as you know what you're good at and how you can make use of that goodness in the context of the company or the people you are company with, right? That helps a lot. So that was the kind of an experience that I enjoyed.
Wow. So, you said you have built more than 100 products which are all over the world. So, can you just brief about one or two products? How did you start? What are the hindrances you faced?
All right, that's interesting. There are plenty of them. Choosing one or two is a tough one. So, as I was telling, I think for one of the earliest, I think the first one we actually put together, and then we're trying out that whether it is meaningfully usable in the sense of the application that we built for was a baby incubator. Okay, that was the very earliest product that we realized. So to start off with, it was just a very random encounter in a hospital where I found people were finding it very hard to really get their babies, primarily which are early born babies, require an incubation, which is critical at the initial, as they call, neonatal stage of the baby. So we built an indigenous incubator at that time, and to really augment hospitals that are not having the the number of incubators they may need based on the kind of deliveries they actually support and all of that. A very interesting experience. We learned a lot. Okay, we learned a lot from a basic idea to really make some prototype and then actually leave it to people to try out. Your heart pumps a lot more than you can imagine because you have a small just born baby being put on an incubator in the belief that the device works very well and the way it is required and helps the baby to really regain what it can do on its own and start being very healthy within 6 or 7 days of time. And there is so much of belief and trust on a device that has been put out there. You can imagine what it means to an engineer who builds it also, right? And you really witness that. It was a kind of overwhelming, and at the same time, it was very eye-opening experience we had out there. Okay, what is engineering? What is product? What does it mean to people? And how technology touches lives of people, whether we like it or not, beyond our own lifetime, right? Because as I keep joking, okay, doctors, good friends of mine, touch one life at a time, but engineers, we touch several lives across different time span itself, even without we knowing it, be it a small screw or a big helicopter or an airplane or any medical device you make, The part of really designing, building, making it real, where all it touches and how it touches the lives of people. That was a fantastic revelation for us in the first product itself. That actually helped us put together some standard checklist for our own sake in terms of, okay, one product idea is fine, but how do you know it is the problem worth solving? So we need to first figure out exactly is the problem worth solving? Or is it just your dream that, okay, you found some piece of technology, you want to try it out, right? You always said, no, we need to pick a problem that is worth solving. So that is first filter for us, right? And then the second is, what is the innovation you're bringing for that particular problem? So, because there isn't anything in the world which is not solved before. You're only finding out another way of solving it, okay, or making it affordable, making it accessible, right, making it useful in different senses than what it is being done now. So then, what is the innovation you're bringing to the table? There we again question back saying, okay, is this innovation worth building? Or is it just adding something more to the already existing clutter? Then look for a technology, okay? Because you are not first starting with technology. Look at always technology as a mechanism to realize the idea that come up with and the innovation that we actually brought to table, right? So use what technology is better at that particular point in time. And choice of technology came as a third step for that, and the first step, as normally happens with a lot of people we might meet up. So once you know that the technology is, this is the piece of technology that is useful here, which makes it accessible, scalable, as well as make it affordable. Then we look at, okay, to use something that we bring to table, there is a cultural shift that is required on the minds of user, because our logic is everything is having different solutions already in place. So if you are bringing a solution to solve this problem that you have picked up, which is worth solving as you believe, but if the culture of people using it doesn't change, most of the time the innovation will never become effective. So we used to think of, okay, what cultural changes that are required? Because as I told you in the simplest example of a baby incubator, there is a lot of things that we need to consider in terms of, okay, how it is maintained, how it is put together, how nurse looks at it, when they actually touch or somebody else coming to clean the hospital out there, how do they touch, what happens, what about insulation, what about EMI? You really have to look at all that. Then you need to see, okay, is this a piece of device they respect or a piece of device just lying out there and they don't care about? We need to bring that cultural change also with the product itself, right? So that's the culture part of what you can bring in. Next is we look at what change it will bring to table. So if you bring this in, is there going to be different things that can be done with the same product, or it can become its own scalable aspect of the whole thing? So you can make one, but can you make many? And can you let others make it better than you? All these things are important, because what happens with innovators and discoverers is they first would like to protect and keep it in a shelf that they don't want others to copy. But our logic was, no, no, no. If we found a way and the way is useful and it is actually can be scalable, we should let others use it also. Once others use it, they actually make it better. And in the course, the whole solution that you build actually touches a lot more people. So like that, we put together some simple steps of finding out, okay, what's the product, what problem we are solving to, the innovation worth building to, the change in culture you would like to bring up to, literally the technology that may be useful, which makes it accessible and affordable, right? That is the method. That learning came to us in the first product we built. Right? And we actually extended that further to almost everything that we worked on. We worked on quite a few products in the aerospace industry, automotive industry, medical, networking, okay, computer networking areas, and medtech. There are quite a few products that we worked on as well. There's wireless communications and networking. You would have heard of Wi-Fi and routers and outdoor routers, etc. We worked on those elements as well. And yeah, so runs around multiple technology streams. And each of these products are, as I said, when we say licensable, the product actually is given to another company. That company adds a little more value to that and makes it as their brand and then sells it in market. And in cases we actually have given it to more than 4 or 5 different companies, they make it 4 or 5 different products out of that and move that further as well. So that is how we have translated the kind of products and the solutions that we built and moved on.
That was a pretty amazing journey of how to start, how you build, and it was really amazing to hear. So, like, what was the messed up thing you did during all these building products?
This product and solution journeys are always very chaotic. First and foremost, to find out whether this problem worth really solving, because every problem cannot be solved and every problem need not be solved. So problem worth solving itself creates huge chaos for identifying is it really a worth problem solving. Once you cross it over, you actually get to what is the innovation we are building and what is that worth building. If you have about 15 of us discussing the same problem, idea is to have 15 different solution comes out of it, right? So then each one we pick up to really talk about and work with also come from different expertise as well, right? So if somebody thinks getting to a college to apply for an admission is difficult for say people who are not primarily very friendly in terms of say it's a you get into a building which is not friendly for people with disabilities or having difficulty to move on, you give that as a problem. So how do we make admission process easy for people like that to come in? You tell this to a mechanical engineer, they come up with a different solution. So they may even talk about a ramp and adjustable, foldable system, etc. And I actually get to civil engineers, they will come back and they say, I can really build a ramp which is more permanent. You can really have it part of the whole stairs so that people can move in and walk in easily. I can make it very friendly for them to come up and everything else. You sell the same problem to a software engineer, the software engineer may come back and they say, yeah, I can build an app. So they may sit wherever they are and they actually can just convert the whole admission process into that so they don't have to come. Like this, right? The same problem you give it to different kinds of engineers, each one will actually find a different possible solution out there. Sometimes it may be 100% complete solution, sometimes it may be 30-40%, and the rest 50, 60, or 70 has to be added in from others as well. In this process, a lot of things can go wrong. Right? A lot of things can go wrong. Your assumptions may be really very, very faulty. And what you think is going to work, when it actually goes to a place where it has to be deployed, you realize that that is not how it's going to work. So we did this chaos coming in this line, and if you get in a hurry to really build something, we can mess it up even in the end point of game where okay, so it is ready for somebody to use, but you take it there, it is not going to work. Our idea of making it worth building helped us in getting there. But still, there were hiccups. There were hiccups in right. For example, you actually we went ahead and then designed what we call a touch memory based device. It's like a replacement for barcode. Okay, so I'll give you a real case example. Gas cylinder that comes to your home. So nowadays, I think cylinders have become now in terms of number connections is coming down because your pipelines coming in. But we still have gas cylinders in circulation. The thing is, each gas cylinder made actually has a lifetime of its own, and after a few filling and refillings, it has to be thrown out and not used for because that's one way of really protecting the user and the whatever damage it can happen if there is a leakage in the cylinder, etc. But how do you track a cylinder and then find out whether the cylinder has been actually in use for how long? So earlier practice used to be like they do an engraving on the manufacturing date of a kind, right? You can engrave when the cylinder is made and you have a year and month and whatnot as an identity on that. But that becomes very static. Every time a cylinder comes back for a refill, you just can't do the same thing. You can't engrave and keep a count of it. And what you end up doing is, yeah, you have the number or an ID for that, but at the same time, you have a register of a kind which registers then a cylinder again and again and again. Maybe you have a ability to really track how many refills have done. But if you visit a refilling station, you know that the refilling is happening in a batch process. A batch may be 10,000 cylinders filled once. And how do you really keep track of all of that? And there isn't any nice way of really tracking how many times the cylinder is being used so that you can eliminate a lot of issues in the field even before it happens. Right? So that is the problem we are trying to solve. So then the whole concept was a barcode thing, right? You can have a barcode every time it comes in, you can fill it and paste it, and you can use barcode as a methodology. So it's a very simple thing to really solve. But when you actually put to use, you realize the life of a cylinder, right from when it is made to its retirement, it may have actually traveled lakhs of miles. In the process, There are so many people involved, and it has to really stand in rain, mud, and whatnot. So it actually goes through its own life cycle, which is very tough, and no paper of a barcode kind of a thing is really going to help even in the first cycle itself. So this is the thing, right? When you realize this, you actually have to change the entire solution. So we have to find a solution which actually works in the scenario that we deploy. And we looked around, and at that time, the constraint we put was the same, right? So it should be a very non-volatile memory. So memory where you can read write, and a device which actually can be on the cylinder but does not create any hazard for the cylinder or the whole process of it. So there cannot be a battery. And if there is no battery and if there is no IO for that to connect, how will you really read and write? So to really replace that, right? So there is this concept of a touch memory devices. They are like coin cells. Okay, so if you've seen a coin cell, it will be about 25 paisa coin cell kind of a thing. You put it on a cylinder, and that you actually, with a proximity device, you write up or read up out of that, and without anyone tampering, without losing the whole thing, it can be staying there as long as the life of the cylinder. We also devised a solution where, okay, when the 10,000s of cylinders come in, you have a reader installed elsewhere which actually reads without even touching. And you want to dump it back on every cylinder to really get the data of what needs to be done. Goes in out there and then make sure that the ID and the details that are required for a cylinder is available. This is kind of a solution. So how chaotic the whole situation is and how problematic it can be, right? It was fun getting every bit of it working and how messy it can be in the whole deployment process of a solution. Who all you train? How do you make sure that they stick in? How do you really make sure the change in the whole method where the cylinder is being made, this coin goes in? All of that was fun, very exhausting, and at the same time, when the solution actually works like magic at the end of it, the kind of relief and the pride you get is amazing. So almost at every step, a lot of mess happens, right? And there isn't any one project or a product where you can't imagine there was chaos at the beginning of it, and there was chaos in actually the end baseline of what needs to be done. But once we have the full run of it, we actually go back to the board, make sure that the product is re-engineered, strengthened back again, so that when it goes to mass solution, mass production, etc., the whole thing actually works smoothly as we expect. So we devise methods to get out of it. Yeah, but it is very hard to say that is this one product which was messy. Almost every product we went through actually had its own cycles of chaos and messiness there.
Sir, what kind of products you build in your company now, the startup Buoyanci?
So now we actually work on two things. One, we don't do too many things of our own innovation, but we do help people with innovation. That is a little change at this point in time. So we work with around at least about 40 to 60 startups every year. We help them with their innovation journey. So every startup actually has their own idea and the product and the piece of technology and the problem they're trying to solve. We actually work with them to really make sure that that becomes similar to what I described in the beginning. Is it the right problem, worth problem solving, or is the innovation worth really building and technology are they using the right one to really make use of, right? So we really work with at least 40 to 60 startups of a kind in their innovation journey. That's one part. Second part, we also work with social innovators. Okay, the guys who actually bring technology for good, and NGOs and non-profit organizations, etc. And they think that they're just solving a mass problem, but our idea is to really see, no, no, the innovation and the framework of innovation can help solve social problems also far very differently. We work with around 30, 40 NGOs and social innovators to really help them succeed in their own journeys of innovation, helping in social. So that we call it social innovation kind of a thing. Third piece of work we do under innovation is we work with a lot of multinational companies, big companies in aerospace, automotive, and medical technology, and other product industries, where we actually consider and work with them to literally help them in their own innovation journey. So we consult, we have programs we do for them. We run entrepreneurship in residence, innovator leadership kind of programs also, wherein we actually nurture roughly about 120 odd innovators in these companies they're working. So when they come up with the idea, we validate the idea, help them structure it, and the companies funds them, and there'll be new business, new technology coming from those companies as well. So if we actually had our the first model of entrepreneurship brought in here, we would have done maybe one, two, three innovation every month. But together, since we are working in this kind of a model, we have at least about 300, 400 innovation coming out of it. Our effort in nowadays with either through startups or through social innovators or the corporate innovators. This is the three that we do. Fourth, we do innovation challenge for students. So engineering college students, we create a innovation challenge every year, and every year what we do is we pick up a topic and technology. Last year was healthcare and artificial intelligence. So you let the students from all around the country participate with set of problems that's worth solving, and we actually I think. On an average, about 500 to 750 students participate, or at least about 200 odd teams participate, wherein we have minimum 3 to 5 people in a team supported by a faculty coming in together. And you can imagine when the about 120, 150 teams qualify and then come through, we work with almost all of those teams to really help them understand innovation and build innovation also. And last 5, 6 years, some of them have turned themselves into a company by itself, and they're doing really well. A lot of people who actually went through that, they learned that okay, they can be innovative, and even in the jobs, they can really pick up and do on. Their chances of getting placed in their own campuses actually increase further. And also, what we do, since I'm part of NASCOM and other industry associations, we showcase these students' projects to all the corporates who are willing to really look at them. So they either look at and adopt the innovation, or they pick up these students as part of their journey. So it's interestingly, right? So there's another 100 odd innovations that actually come into table and then work with it as well. It's abundant access and solution that we work with.
Any advice for the students who wants to follow the path of innovation and entrepreneurship from your side?
Oh, advice for students. Okay, it's pretty easy to give advice, but I guess as students, you need to discover what you're going to be and what you're going to be good at. Because we may not know very clearly as to what we can be good at, but we need to discover that. To discover that, we need to experiment. Okay, if you sit at one place and then start thinking and imagining, it's not going to work. You need to try a few things before you really look at discover yourself. What is that makes you very, very happy, energetic doing? That's very important. The company you keep is also very important. You need to discover good friends, okay, who can really help you stay energized all the time. Right? At the same time, you need to discover opportunities which are very good for you for learning. So most of the time, if you don't discover opportunities to learn, but you are looking at discovering opportunities only to make money, it is very difficult. It's not sustainable because money is not sustainable. So I think in the as early as you can, discover yourself first in terms of discover your interest, discover the company you want to keep with, discover the kind of social cause you may associate yourself with. So that's a very easy way to do it. Because all of us may have a dream, okay? A dream in terms of what you want to be, how much more money you want to do, where all you want to go, where you want to travel. These are all part of aspiration. But at the same time, if you think through what is this one social cause that I can stand for, that is a very good pivot for you to really figure out where you will be having your energies both spent as well as generated by doing something. So that is one thing very important for people to discover. So discover a social cause that makes a lot of sense for you. It can be livelihood generation, it can be health of somebody, it can be education, it can be anything for that matter. Why I'm saying that is the moment you actually know the social cause that you stand for, all your energies of knowing different technology, different people, working somewhere, going anywhere, can all be channeled back to this so that you become better at what you do regularly and also you're channelizing that as a value to the social cause you stand for. So the first step I would say discover yourself. Okay, so either use any method that's available, or as I said, look at just a social cause that gels well with your own heart. And that is where you need to start. Because over what happens over a period of time, you become busy. You go chasing something, maybe a position, maybe a job, maybe somebody else, or maybe travel, whatever, you forget why you actually did whatever you did. And it's always better to really be aware of where we came from. So, most of the time, discovering your interest or an inclination toward a social cause is a very powerful thing for people to really build their energies with. So, that's the first part of element. Once you do that, once you discover, please nurture that. Okay, when you nurture it, what does it mean? You know more about it. You know more about what you can do for that. You know more about people who are doing far better in that space. Follow them, take them as mentors, and read something. Read things that actually help you to really build your own abilities around what you want to be nicely. The moment you have discovered, nurturing is very important. So nurturing requires discipline as well. And whatever you study will be useful to you. Okay, so whichever branch of engineering, 50, 60 subjects you study, all of that will come into play. The moment you know that you are studying that as a basis of acquiring knowledge. But this nurture part by experimentation actually helps you to make it part of your own habit as well. So nurturing is the next thing that you need to do. So if you want to be the best software engineer in the world, you start actually participating in hackathons, solving problems. Same time, look at how software can solve a social problem that you're studying for. Then you know you can collaborate with people, you can take courses, go to places, volunteer. All these elements actually help you in nurturing the discovery that you did in the first step. Next is A part. Okay, this is the DNA, right? So if to change your DNA or discovering is important, nurturing is important. A is aligning yourself. So align yourself to that. Otherwise, what happens? We see a lot of people have a passion in many things. So the passion may be in music, passion may be in a social cause, as I said, passion may be in a piece of technology, art, craft, dance, whatever the case may be. Unless you nurture and align all your resources towards that, it is impossible. Okay, but what people do is they try to keep things separate. I'll keep my profession separate from my hobby. I keep my work separate from my passion. I keep my volunteering, social costing separate from my work. This becomes a problem over a period of time. So why? Because yeah, we all live one life, and all of us have just 24 hours, and you never know how these 24 hours get filled. And if you don't align your interest and work and passion and everything towards what you discovered in the first step, after some time you forget where you started and also start worrying about what am I doing. So I think to be very useful in every minute we live in this world, my solution is simple. Discover what you're good at, nurture art very well, and align almost every resource and effort, including time, energy, and money you have towards that discovery that you did. And I think it changes your DNA. So you have your own DNA now, but I guess you need to strengthen the DNA with the discovery and nurturing alignment process that you go after with it. That would be very, very powerful for anybody for that matter.
It was very insightful for us. So thank you. So that's all for this episode. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter for further updates from UC Graduates Association. Thank you.